Hey everybody, I'm Nathan Branson and I teach English 112. And as you know, we're writing 3 essays in our class that require you to find reliable sources online to support your argument for your 112 class. And so those essays will be the argument research paper, the Toolman essay, and the editorial. So for all these, I want you to find outside sources. So for some of you guys, you did this in high school. You look for sources online. You're somewhat comfortable with this, but I want to give you some more tips about how to do this well. Even though you probably have experience, I want to give you a couple more methods to try out. Okay, if you're having trouble, these methods might help you out. Okay, so I want to talk for a little bit about 2 aspects of finding resources, and then Eva Earles, who works at the library, is going to give you some more methods on finding sources and what the library has to offer. Okay. So the first method is go to the first one. Is to find keywords. Okay, so you might have heard that before. And finding keywords is simply, I've got it up here. Keywords are significant words that stand for an idea or concept. So even though you have your idea that you want to write about, there are other synonyms for that word or those words that could help you find more sources. Okay. The key to searching for efficiently is to use keywords and combinations of them that will focus your search on the information you need. So as you know, if you're using Google, use different word combinations to find the right sources or whatever you're looking for, even obviously it's not a source. So we want to find some keywords that relate. So let me give an example of some keywords. This claim might look familiar to you. We use it as an example. Universities should require every student to take a variety of courses outside of their student's field of study. So we agree, you might have agreed or disagreed with that for a homework assignment. I know I did that for one of my classes. So you have the words that are here in this statement, but there are other words too that you could find online that might be more commonly used within the debate about whether, how many of these courses should students take outside of their major. So for instance, if you want to be a nursing major, you might have to take a sociology class, and you might say, I don't understand why I have to take sociology if I want to be studying biology and the human body and things like that. So that's the kind of thing we're walking into when we look at this particular claim. So if one way to look into this is to do a free write, or like if you're in my class, I'll talk about a word vomit or make a chart, something that helps you, like those little thought bubbles, things like that, to help you get on paper what you're thinking. So if you have a free write of what you believe about this, you're going to generate lots of keywords that you can use that are specifically relevant to you because it's what you believe. So if you were to, let's say, disagree with this, and you wanted to go into nursing, and you're not sure why you have to take maybe something like history or sociology, you might come up with a couple of reasons why you don't believe you need to take those classes so you can get into the sciences faster, okay, or even English class. So you have those keywords. So I believe a free write is one way to do that, so you can get outside of just using these words. So I did a free write on this, and I actually would agree with this statement. So my 3 reasons were, I believe people who are 18 need some kind of structure when they start out in their education. That's my first reason. Just like, anybody who goes in the military, you need to do basic training. Everybody does the same thing. I believe that's good for people going into something like university or military. Second one is jobs in the 21st century often require people to know about a variety of subjects. So I think knowing about a variety of subjects helps a person survive in the 21st century job market, or just in general as a human being. and I think it helps to know about a lot of different topics, just to understand the world, not only the job market. I think since the final thing is, since I think people switch careers a lot, so if you only take things in one field and you get to the age of 28 and then you're like, wow, I think I'm gonna switch careers. This isn't working out, or I don't want to do this anymore. It's good to have a plan B. So it's kind of like taking a variety of courses helps you to have your plan B ready. So some keywords I highlighted in red here. So the need of discipline. So if this is my topic, and this is what I've got on paper, the discipline and structure for 18-year-olds. I believe that. Nothing against 18-year-olds. I just think that if you're going from high school and then you go into no structure, it could be kind of chaos. So I believe that structure, that discipline is good for anybody going into college. You don't have to make as many choices, and as you go along and you take the different classes, I think that's good. So you would look at the discipline structure, things like that would be some keywords. I've written them out here. Freshmen need discipline and structure. Students searching for a major. Those things are related. A variety of disciplines, exploring a variety of career choices, well-rounded graduates. So if we go back, I believe that for this particular thing, I believe that people who are well-rounded are going to do well in life in general. So we want you to be well-rounded. That will be another keyword for me. So those are a couple of keywords, and then I also put soft skills too. I always tell the story about my cousin who he's more on the shy side, kind of a quiet guy. He said that public speaking was one thing that really helped him as an accountant. So even though he's like, I want to sit in an office all the time, public speaking is something he has to do a lot as an accountant. So to be well-rounded. So those are some of my soft skills. So as you can see, soft skills, searching for a major, discipline and structure, they're not in the claim. So you want to find those words that relate. Finally, I got switching careers in your 30s. Again, that's a phrase, so you could look at that topic in general and then see what you find about it, and then you could relate that to, or for me, I could relate that to my central claim. Okay, so brainstorming and then seeing what words you come up with is really helpful. Use those words and then look into those specific keywords and topics. That might sound like a rabbit trail, but if you can bring it back to your main claim, it's really going to help. So take note of what words you see in resources. So if you're doing research, what words do you see in maybe the books you find or the online articles you find? What words come up the most? What are common words that come up? Take note of those and then put those into the search engine. So if I'm writing things and then I put something into a database or a search engine and put those words that I found, that can help me to find the right sources. So you want to find the words that are used most often in the field you're looking into. Method 3, I think that if you're starting off in research looking at credible sources that might not be peer reviewed, that might also help you find keywords. So for instance, if I put my topic, switching careers in your 30s in a search engine with the New York Times, like right here, if I just type this literally into the search engine, we'll say that's the New York Times. The New Yorker's a little more specific. New York Times and switching careers in your 30s. You're going to find something that comes up in the New York Times, or with maybe the Atlantic Monthly. That's something else that these two I always find lots and lots of. They're sort of wide-ranging and they cover most topics. So if you put in switching careers in your 30s, the New York Times or the Atlantic Monthly into just Google, you're going to come up with something. And reading those articles that are written by journalists, you'll find a lot of keywords just reading those articles. And a lot of these written by they're not peer reviewed, but they're oftentimes written by journalists who you can trust. So I always suggest starting off with putting your keywords in and then reading those articles that come up. You can use those articles in your paper. I'm fine with that. But it's also helpful to see what the keywords are, specifically in these disciplines. See what they might be keywords they might be using at the university. So let's cover keywords. So whatever keywords you come up with, mess around with that, and then hopefully you'll find some good sources. If you have trouble with that, please let me know. Another thing to do is to create a research question. So creating a research question is basically, I just define that as a research question is something you don't know. So whenever you're researching, you're ideally looking for something you don't know or trying to back up some point of view so that you have. So try to name that thing that you're looking for, or in a question, or write that out into a question about what you're searching for. So if I'm going along with the question or the topic that I've mentioned earlier, how often does the normal American switch jobs in their career? If I really looked into that and I found that I've always heard that in the 21st century Americans switch jobs more than they used to. With my parents and my grandparents' generations, they switched jobs much less. Whereas now, I don't think that's good. But apparently, people switch jobs more, so they need to be more well-rounded if they're going from job to job. So if we find that, that would help support my idea that you need to be a well-rounded person in your career and also in life. So I want to know more about that and to have a question written on a piece of paper, which I'm going to ask you to do in almost every one of your essays, to have a research question that is stated about something you don't know and you want to know more about. So just write a question out, and all I'm asking for in that homework assignment is just a question that you're curious about. Some other research questions. Before I go into that, the advantage to having that is it'll just help keep a question in mind about why you're researching and what you're looking for, help to guide you along. And you can use words like what, when, where, who, how, why, would, should, could, all these kind of words. Just start off your questions with those, and then it'll help you form those questions. Kind of like, why do students need to take general education requirements? How does taking general education requirements help people in the workforce? What are other alternatives universities could give rather than requiring general education courses? Things like this, you could choose that and just keep in the back of your mind as you're looking for sources. So I will ask you to find keywords in 3 of your essays. I will ask you to find a research question, at least one question in your essays. So I just wanted to go over that real quick. I also wanted to have Eva Earles talk to you guys. She works at the library, and so she is going to go over a couple of resources the library has for you guys, since this is an online class. Okay? So Eva.
Hello, my name is Eva Earles, and I'm the Reference and Instruction Librarian here at Carteret Community College. I'm going to spend my portion of the video talking about how and where to do research, argument-based research using library resources. So first thing we need to do is go to the library's homepage. That's where the majority, all of our resources actually can be found on our library's homepage. So when you're on the Carteret.edu homepage here, you can go to this library link on the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that, you will have access to all of our resources using this webpage here. I do want to also tell you that we do have a guide for this, a research guide for this class. It is under this research guide links on the upper left-hand corner. If you click on that, you will find an assignment guide for this particular class. You can click on the assignment guides and find the argument-based research guide here under English 112. When you click on that, all of the resources that I will talk about today will be located on this guide that you can access off campus 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So feel free to go onto this website here and discover all of the resources that I think will be appropriate for using or for doing research and argument-based assignments. All right, so this guide here has a left navigation pane over here. You can go to the reference resources. Since you already have your guides to topics, I would recommend starting in your reference resources tab here. This reference resources tab will take you to what's called CREDA Reference. CREDA Reference contains things like encyclopedias, dictionaries, handbooks, guidebooks, things that will help you do what we like to call background research, which is also another way to find appropriate keywords for your topics. So when you're doing research in this particular database, what it intends to do is take more complex topics and break them down in simpler terms for you. So CREDA Reference is a great first stop for doing library research, especially when you have a list of topics to choose from or a topic given to you by an instructor. You need to know a little bit more about the topic. You can find it in this particular database here. So it's pretty simple. You see your search box here. It's simple as what you can just type in your keywords and hopefully find something on your particular topic. So for instance, if I were to do a search for preserving laws to preserve wilderness, say I was doing an argument-based claim maybe to support that, I could just type in literally laws to preserve wilderness. So let me go ahead and type that in there and show you what we find. There we go. So once you go ahead and type that into your search box here, you can go ahead and hit the search box. And you'll see all of the resources that are have these particular words within the title or the subject or the abstract for this particular topic. So let's just click on the first one here and let's see what we have. This one's out of a handbook. Like I said, handbook, guidebooks, dictionaries, and encyclopedias, typically what you'll find in this resource. So when you go ahead and click on that, you'll find a little bit about the topic. But typically what we're looking for here are things to support our claim. And that will help you not only find things that you can use, but also, like I said, help finding keywords as well. You may not use this particular resource as one of your resources that you list in your works cited page. However, you can use this, like I said, as background research. So these are some of the things that wilderness is why it's vital to us all. And there are some lists here, or some things that you can use as your supporting arguments or claims. Okay? That being said, one of the great things about using library research or research tools is that we have some of these things up here that can help you with citing. So if you click on the citation button here, you can see we have APA and MLA. I believe you'll probably be using MLA for this particular topic or paper. So you can click on the MLA here and find this citation to grab along with your handbook entry here. Okay, so make sure to grab those citations along with your resources. All right, so once we have found a little bit of background research on our topics here, I can go back to this research guide and continue on with my research. If you do have any questions about using CREDA Reference, there is a tutorial underneath the link here that will give you some more information on that particular database. So underneath the next tab here, underneath reference resources, we do have books. Since you are a distance learning student, you may not have access to our print collection, but if you do come on campus, you do have about 20,000 items on our shelves that you're more than welcome to browse. You also have access to other North Carolina Community College libraries where you'll have over 1 million materials to choose from. And all of these books can be sent to our library here on campus. And if you are a distance learning student and have difficulty getting on campus, please feel free to contact the library. well, we should be able to work something out with you. Using the catalog, however, will at least show you what we have in our collection, and you can probably see if that's something worthwhile for you to investigate. So in this case, let's say I want to look to see if innovations such as video, computers, the internet offer schools improved methods for instructing students, or does it distract from real learning? So maybe I can see whether that's a pro or con side of that. I want to investigate a little bit further. I can use the library catalog for that. And one of the things that I will show you in the library catalog is that we do have this series called Opposing Viewpoints series, as well as the issues that concern you. The wonderful things about these books is that they have a ton of resources within one particular resource. So you may find a couple of resources just from checking out one of these books. Okay, so if you type in Opposing Viewpoints series, you will find all of the books in that series. Okay, so I'm actually going to do that now. So I do think there is one for that particular topic that I just talked about. Okay, so if you click on Opposing Viewpoints, actually let me put quotation marks around that. I will show you what that means later when we do searching in some of our other databases, but you'll see that that narrows it down to that exact phrase. So you can see we have 67 titles on this Opposing Viewpoint series, and I believe that there is actually one on technology. So if you want that particular search, you can actually type in Opposing Viewpoints with technology. There we go. And it will actually narrow down that series to all of the technology books that we have. Oh, I must have misspelled there. There we go. Viewpoints. So you can see just by a little mistake of misspelling something in this database will lead you to 0 search results. So if you are getting 0 search results, please check your spelling. Oftentimes that is the issue there. So you can see here, this very last search result here is Technology and Society. You can click on it and find out a little bit more about this book here by taking a look inside. This book will tell you all about what the chapters are and it'll give you a little bit of a summary here. But you can see the benefits of technology are increasing, diminishing, and it also talks a little bit about the education and the way it impacts, technology impacts education as well. So it might be a good book for you to check out, might be a good book for you to at least look in to see if that's something that you can use as a resource. Okay? We also have a way for you to get this book or place a hold on this book if you are off campus, and you can simply go to this place hold here. When you place a hold on this book, it will take you to this page here. You will need a library card in order to use this particular feature. If you haven't had a library card yet, you can come to the library here or once again give us a call. Okay? So with that being the case, you have, like I said, over 1 million materials using this library catalog, and hopefully you'll be able to find something if that is your choice. Back on the research guide here, once we have gone from reference resources to a little bit larger database in our entire collection in books, you can go to a little bit even larger databases under research databases. This will take you to very large research platforms here, and will give you quite a bit of reports, scholarly research, and a few other things that I'll show you in just a few minutes. The first one here is called CQ Researcher, the second one is SIRS Researcher, and the third one is ProQuest Central. These are all out of what we call NC Live. NC Live is a great one-stop shop for doing library research. You will need a username and password in order to get on that off campus. That is the same as you would use for your Moodle page. If you have difficulty with that, please give the library a call, or you can use your library card number. The CQ Researcher excellent resource for doing argument-based research. And the reason why it's a great resource for that is it's a huge, long report that talks about the background information, it talks about the pro-con, and it will also give you potentially some research questions and some viewpoints on both the pro and the con side. And it's as simple as, once again, typing your keywords into the upper right-hand corner here, or you can browse topics and reports using those tabs. So with that said, let's go ahead and search within this database here. I picked a topic, government should place few, if any, restrictions on scientific research and development. Simple with doing a keyword search or a brainstorm, as you talked about earlier. You can just type in scientific research here. To see what we have on that particular topic. You may choose other keywords, that's completely fine. I found some success with this one, so I will show you what I found. This first one here is a report on conquering rare diseases. That may be a pro side to this particular claim. Talk about how moving scientific research along very quickly helps you, once again, to conquering rare diseases. So it's about 12,000 words long. You can see on the left-hand side here, we do have all of those features that I talked to you earlier about. This pro-con in particular will give you kind of a pro side and a con side to this particular research question. So that kind of at least takes you back to what Mr. Branson was talking about earlier with developing a research question and developing those keywords from that. So if you do decide to use this particular resource, once again, you can use this Cite Now feature in the upper right-hand corner, and you can access the MLA citation using this tab here. So you have the citation as well as that 12,000 word report. You'll find lots of information, very useful information within this. Okay. Now, if you were, say, on the con side of this particular argument, because we typed in just scientific research into the keyword box, we do have some negative sides to that. This is a report called Health and Safety Regulations. Once you click on that, the government oversight becoming too lax? That may be a negative side for allowing less restrictions on scientific research. So not only do we have a pro side to that, we also have a negative side to this. Once again, very similar in nature. You have about 12,000 words here. You have that pro-con side, and you also have that Cite Now feature in the upper right-hand corner. Okay? That CQ Researcher, if you find things in there, great. If not, you can move on to the next database. The thing about doing library research is that it's very experimental. Some databases work beautifully for one topic and may not work so well for the other topic. So I'm going to show you about 6 different resources today. Surely in one of those you will find some resources that will work perfectly for your particular topic. Okay? The next one is SIRS Issues Researcher. Very similar in nature to CQ Researcher. But what I do like about this one here, not sure why it's doing that on this one, but we will go ahead and accept the risk and continue. So once you're on SIRS Issues Researcher, just like you saw on CQ Researcher, you can use this particular search box here. I'm going to use the claim that teachers' salaries should be based on their students' academic performance. If I were to just type in teacher salaries, oops, I spelled that incorrectly. Once I type in teacher salaries into the search box, I can click search. And one of the things about this particular database is that it will show you other keywords, hopefully, for your particular topic. And then I learned from this database that it's called merit pay, when we base salaries off a student's academic performance. So that, once again, I found another keyword for my particular topic, and then I can use that in other databases. Okay, so if you click on Merit Pay for Teachers, there's a very small summary, so that's a little bit different than CQ Researcher. You're going to get a very small summary within this one. However, you get this beautiful viewpoints here underneath. Should teacher salaries or bonuses be based on student test performance? We have a pro side and we have a con side. And with this database, we do have actual links to those sources. You learned before, we have things called peer-reviewed and non-peer-reviewed sources. These are typically non-peer-reviewed sources. They come out of newspapers, sometimes government documents, but very rarely are they from peer-reviewed sources. That being said, if you would like to use those non-peer-reviewed sources, you can by clicking on those sources here, and you can see this one is out of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. However, one of the beautiful things about using non-peer-reviewed sources is that typically you're going to find more current information in that. That is one of the pro sides of using that. So if there's some sort of change or recent change within your topic, this may be one of the sources that will be more beneficial for you. So with this case, you can read the entire article. And once again, using library tools, you can use this cite feature on the right-hand side here. Okay? Very important when doing research, grab those citations along with your resources. Okay? Once you have all of those kind of background research, plus maybe some more focused research on argument-based research, you can go to some of our bigger databases like ProQuest Central. ProQuest Central is a great stop for doing research, scholarly research with scholarly resources, those peer-reviewed sources that I mentioned earlier. So this is the database that you can use for any of your research topics, not just this class, but with a sociology class, a history class, whatever type of class you have. This would be a great resource to access for those particular classes. Very simple database here. We do have this search for your keywords here. We do also have these limiters underneath, and this is where research gets a little bit more complicated. You can search for full text here. Not all articles in NC Live are full text, so you will want to click that. We want to make sure that we will be able to read our articles when we find them. And this is where we will access the peer-reviewed sources or non-peer-reviewed sources, depending on if we click it or not. If you click it, you will limit to all peer-reviewed sources. Peer-reviewed means that this is a source that is written by an expert in the field and is also reviewed by other experts in the same field, which is very different from those non-peer-reviewed sources that we saw in SIRS Researcher, where those are written by journalists in the field, and they will write on a variety of topics, not necessarily their expertise. Okay? So if you decide that peer-reviewed sources are perfect for this resource or this particular research project, go ahead and click that. Okay? Another thing that you'll need to know about this particular database is that they are going to look for everything that you type into the search box. So this is where it's important to have those keywords. It's not an appropriate database to type an entire sentence into this particular database. You will probably get 0 search results. So make sure that you have appropriate keywords for your topic by now. The quotation marks, which you saw in the library catalog, will narrow that down to that particular phrase. So when we saw earlier with opposing viewpoints, we put quotation marks around that particular phrase that keeps those two words together within that paragraph. So it's not like in the first paragraph with opposing and the third paragraph viewpoints. They keep those two words together within that sentence. And that will help you narrow down your keywords, narrow down your search results, and help you get more focused search results. Okay? So with this one here, I am going to search for things about, some people argue that successful leaders in government, industry, or other fields must be highly competitive. Other people claim that in order to be successful, a leader must be willing and able to cooperate with others. Okay? So if I were to just type in successful leaders within this keyword box here, I would probably put that, quotation marks around successful leaders. And this will help you narrow down your focus already. We already have narrowed it down by peer-reviewed and full text. You can also type in other keywords such as competition or cooperation. You can type in those keywords here, and that will help you narrow that down even further. It depends. I would probably try this first to see how many search results I get, and if everything is a little bit focused, then I would continue with that. If things are not focused within that, that's when I would add extra keywords. The more keywords that you type into the search box here, the fewer search results you are going to get. The fewer, the more search results you're going to get. Okay? So let's do a search here. And you'll see that we get about 2,000 search results, a fairly good number of search results. Like I said, if you were to add more keywords in here, you would get fewer search results. Another way to kind of limit your search results is by publication date. One of the ways to evaluate information resources is based on currency. How current is the information? It will depend on your topic. Your topic, if it's something newer, you might need to narrow that down to more recent dates. If it doesn't matter, then you can keep this the same. So it depends on your topic, and some fields, such as the nursing field, as mentioned earlier, require within the last 5 years or so. So keep that in mind when using this database, that you may limit it down to a particular date range. Any of these articles here can go ahead and you can click on them. You can see who wrote it. You can see where it's published and what date it's published. So all of these can be also previewed here by using that button there, and you'll get the abstract or the summary of the particular article. Like I said, these are all peer-reviewed searches, so typically we're looking at those experts in the field and peer-reviewed journals. And since we limit it to full text, we will see the full text written underneath that. Okay? And once again, we do have our citation button. This is a little bit different than the other ones in that you will have a lot more choices than just APA and MLA. So I will show you how to do this. You will have to click down this arrow button here and find MLA on the particular list here. And you will see MLA 8th edition, which is the latest edition in MLA. If you click that, it will change that for you. And there you go. So once we have done all of our research, we can go back to the research databases here, and I do want to show you a few more things before I complete this part of the video. This online resources tab, if you click that, you will see a PowerPoint for evaluating your information sources. I would highly recommend that you do that for every source that you do, regardless if it's peer-reviewed or not. And I recommend that you do that for every single class. If you scroll down just a hair, go to that second page here, I use these 5 criteria: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. This tutorial will help you kind of determine whether you have something credible, something useful for your research project or not. We talked about the currency, whether that is up to date, that information needs to be up to date. Sometimes you may have out-of-date information like statistics and things like that. Very rarely would you use something like that in your research project. So you need to take a look at that publication date, take a look at your topic, and see whether that information would be useful or not. The relevance, we often talk about this in library research. If your research question and your source doesn't match up, it doesn't matter how good that source is if it's not going to support your claims and your research question. Your authority, who wrote it. So once again, we talked about that peer-reviewed source. That peer-reviewed source at least has an expert that has written that that source. But if you go out onto Google and you do a search and you type in the first thing there and you click on the first thing, you may find something that's not written necessarily by somebody who has the authority to write in that field. You may often find things like Wikipedia and About Us and some other sources that they tell you not to use. The reason why they tell you not to use those sources is because of the who wrote it. We can't determine that, therefore it's not an appropriate source to use for your research papers. The accuracy of the information can sometimes be hard to determine. In the library world, I often say take a look at their sources, take a look at how they're citing their information. If you can track that back, if they're good about using in-text citations and they're publishing their sources, oftentimes at least that is a good step. The purpose with argument-based research, we always have to worry about bias. If they're trying to sell you something, if they're trying to persuade you to believe something, oftentimes that happens a lot with argument-based research. Bias is not always bad. However, you want to balance it out with other more neutral resources, and things like that we found today in ProQuest Central will be those types of resources. So if you stick to library research, chances are you're going to see less biased information than you would just say out on the open web. So those are the 5 criteria that I would recommend evaluating your information sources here. If you have any questions about doing library research, you can see this Ask a Librarian link on the left-hand side. This is my information here. You can email me, and this is the phone number for the reference desk over at the library. You can also do this Ask a Librarian chat box here, and this will help you pretty quickly actually have access to a librarian information and library help. Okay, thank you for watching.